Whether fans simply wanted to have their minds blown by two of the greatest workers of their generation, had high hopes that a WrestleMania appearance from an all-time great would deliver the goods, or wanted to believe that a hotly anticipated rematch could live up to the hype, it's safe to say that the matches to come just didn't reach the glorious heights many were gleefully anticipating in the lead-up. So I am Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestling matches everybody wanted to love, but nobody did. Number 10, Stone Cold Steve Austin vs. Scott Hall, WrestleMania 18. Neither Stone Cold Steve Austin or Scott Hall were in a great position to produce a show-stealing performance on the night of WrestleMania 18, and this ultimately resulted in the pair putting on what felt like a bit of a thrown-together nothing entry on the night of March 17, 2002. Despite not being built up to be quite as compelling as the likes of The Rock vs. Hulk Hogan and Chris Jericho vs. Triple H elsewhere on the card though, fans were still quietly hoping that the Texas Rattlesnake and the NWO Star would click out the pay-per-view and pop them out of their socks. But outside of a stunner sell for the ages from the late great Hall, this fight between two iconic names with Kevin Nash roaming around at ringside wasn't in any way memorable and was just sort of there on the night. Number 9, Rey Mysterio vs. Eddie Guerrero, WrestleMania 21. The contest the Ultimate Underdog and Latino Heat put on at WrestleMania 21 wasn't terrible by any means, with the two still very much showing off some of the slickest chain wrestling and most outrageous counters of the evening. But Mysterio spent the majority of the contest trying his best to keep his irritating latest mask on, and even a few inevitable highlights couldn't elevate the longtime friends/rival show of shows contest to the levels they'd previously reached at the likes of Halloween Havoc 97. The duo would put on better contests in the months that would follow as the tag champs' friendly rivalry turned personal. Yet that still doesn't change the fact that what could have been an all-time classic between two legendary figures was ultimately rather quickly forgotten on a card also boasting the likes of HBK vs. Angle and the first ever Money in the Bank match. Number 8, Bayley vs. Becky Lynch, WWE Raw 2022 to 2023. Whatever combination you throw into the mix, whenever a couple of horsewomen find themselves throwing down in the middle of the squared circle, a good to great display is likely heading your way. In the case of Becky Lynch and Bayley's most recent war between one-time NXT darlings, however, things just never really set the world on fire at any point in their never-ending rivalry. Both big-time Becks and the Damage Control leader weren't in any way as hot as they once were, and the two struggled to really smash it in any of their Raw battles or promo exchanges in the coming months. Fans were desperately rooting for the pair to remind the world why they are two of the greatest women ever to lace a pair of boots. But apart from a decent steel cage showing on the Red Show, Lynch and Bayley just never quite hit it off in the way horsewomen lovers would have hoped when the pair initially locked eyes at SummerSlam 2022. Number 7, Shinsuke Nakamura vs. AJ Styles, WrestleMania 34. Fans had absolutely every right to be a little excited about the concept of AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura locking horns once again. The pair's previous epic saw them put on a near 5-star classic at Wrestle Kingdom 10 over the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. So why couldn't they reach those similar heights on the Grandest Stage with the WWE Championship on the line? Because this was a Vince McMahon show, that's why. If you can honestly confess to remembering this WrestleMania 34 collision for anything other than the visual of the 2018 Royal Rumble winner exploding the champ's bollocks after the bout, then you're likely just lying to yourself. WWE evidently wanted to keep this ball-busting feud going in the wake of that year's show of shows, and this eventually meant that a pretty bang-average first chapter was unleashed in New Orleans, with those clearly gearing up for an all-timer being left somewhat disappointed, one that Nakamura arguably never fully recovered from too. Number 6, CM Punk vs. John Cena, SummerSlam 2011. CM Punk and John Cena's epic over the WWE Championship in front of a deafening Chicago audience at Money in the Bank 2011 felt special on the night. What isn't quite as fondly remembered, however, is the pair's undisputed WWE Championship rematch that went down at the following pay-per-view. Despite another strong in-ring showing from the rivals, the match ended in unwanted controversy as the game failed to spot Cena's foot on the rope during his 3 count for the Punk win. Nash then rocked up to obliterate the best in the world with a jackknife powerbomb before Del Rio cashed in his Money in the Bank contract to walk out of SummerSlam as the new top champ. What could have been a truly magical second dose of Punk euphoria soon devolved into typical WWE nonsense before disheartened fans' eyes, as the summer of Punk hit its first speed bump. Number 5, Kane vs. The Undertaker, WrestleMania 20. WrestleMania 20 was a strange old evening. For every brilliant Guerrero vs. Angle WWE title smash, you unfortunately had a Goldberg vs. Lesnar dud. And then there was the long-awaited return of the supernatural version of the Dead Man, once again taking on his burned-up brother on the Grandest Stage. The match is responsible for one of the better eerie Undertaker entrances. The comeback of the Phenom didn't ultimately rank as one of his better additions to his long-running Mania streak. Everyone was desperately hoping for a showing that would once again establish Taker as a supernatural force force to be reckoned with inside Madison Square Garden. But all they really got was some hammy Kane acting and a rather unspectacular 8-minute monster mash, as the Demon of Death Valley's return to all things Deadman got off to a rather average start. Number 4, Cody Rhodes vs MJF AEW Revolution 2020. After being betrayed by his protege at Full Gear, who had just cost him the chance to ever fight over the AEW World Championship, Rhodes was forced to jump through Maxwell's many hoops in order to get his hands on the slimy scumbag. And after he had overcome those many lashes, won a steel cage war with Wardlow, and successfully not put his hands on the salt of the earth throughout the build to Revolution, fans simply could not wait any longer to see the American Nightmare teach this weasel a violent lesson. What came next was a decent, if slightly underwhelming display from the two though, with too much outside interference pulling the attention away from the personal fight that should have been going down in between the ropes. Admittedly, there was still a lot to love about the sight of MJF stooping to chewing on Cody's foot to gain the upper hand, and Rhodes being allowed to briefly lash the a-hole with his weight belt by the ref. But for a feud this undeniably hot, the destination just didn't quite match the hugely adored journey to it. Number 3, Randy Orton vs Edge, WrestleMania 36. With the rated R superstar not taking part in a singles contest for nearly a decade after being forced to retire due to being diagnosed with cervical spinal stenosis, putting the returning star in a feud with one of the most reliable workers in the company heading into WrestleMania 36 made all the sense in the world. A worldwide pandemic soon forced a slight change of plans, however, and what could have been a hugely enjoyable return appearance from Edge actually ended up becoming a never-ending last man standing nightmare of sorts within the Performance Center. The two sadistic enemies went at it for a staggering and often painful 36 minutes, slowly thumping and controversially choking the crap out of one another in the many different backstage PC environments. And while still a valiant effort at producing a gritty show spectacle, this certainly wasn't the long-awaited singles return showing fans and Edge himself had been dreaming of for almost 10 years. Number 2, The Undertaker vs Bray Wyatt, WrestleMania 31. In theory, Taker passing the supernatural torch onto the Eater of Worlds at WWE's biggest show of the year had all the makings of the sort of gripping contest that could finally help establish Wyatt as a serious top star going forward, and fans were definitely up for the ride heading in. Sadly, Vince McMahon was more interested in rehabbing his beaten Callaway, and a rather ordinary broad daylight battle eventually unfolded instead. The Bray Spiderwalk Taker sit-up beat was well done at least, but what could have been a hugely compelling clash of generations between a pair of talents folks clearly held dear in their hearts just ended up acting as another depressing sign that the best Taker times were well and truly behind us. Number 1, CM Punk vs Jon Moxley, AEW Dynamite 2022. Throughout his time on the sidelines due to a self-inflicted foot injury, fans regularly found themselves dreaming about the moment CM Punk returned to an AEW ring and set his sights on besting the interim AEW World Champion who'd been sitting at the top of the All Elite mountain in his absence. And when the best in the world did finally pop back up on August 10th, 2022's Dynamite, it looked as though an all-out war between the two AEW World Champions was definitely the mouth-watering destination. But then the blockbuster match was brought forward to the August 24th edition of Dynamite, and a divisive Rocky III piece of business soon caught the world entirely off guard. It was shocking, but it was also hard to escape the deflating feeling that AEW had taken a bit of the shine off the eventual rematch at All Out by having Punk be quickly squashed by the purveyor of violence in the lead-up. TK took a swing with this bold booking tactic, however on this occasion, most would have likely preferred the AEW president to keep it simple and just have Mox and Punk save their undisputed war for the biggest of stages. And who knows, one more round may not be off the table in the near future. And that's our list of any other wrestling matches everybody wanted to love but nobody did. Well, let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you love this sort of stuff, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been the Gareth you wanted to love but didn't from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for watching this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see you again rather soon, but in the meantime, just be good to yourself. Bye bye!